Oh, got him. Okay, check 1, 2, check. Anybody hear that whine?
Mm-hmm. Now I don't.
Yep. All right. We might be a little hot.
A little bit.
All right, check 1, 2, check. That sounds okay. All right. Here we go. 5, 4, 3.
Yeah, can you turn me down too? Welcome, everyone, and pull up a seat at the table. It's Lunchtime in Rome. Tonight is episode 178, entitled Feelings and Emotions, Part 2. Do you find people of faith don't respond to you emotionally? Do you get platitudes and judgment rather than true comfort? Does God care about our emotions? This week at the table, we will continue to discuss our feelings versus emotions and look at what God has to do with it. Pull up a seat at the table and join us. First-time listeners can subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Watch us at lunchtimeatrome.com/live or listen directly on lunchtimeinrome.com. While there, you can take our relational needs questionnaire. Make sure to follow us on all social media, and it would be great if you gave us a 5-star review. Jay, what specifically is this podcast about?
Being alone is the worst. Good times aren't as good, and bad times are worse when you're all alone. Romans 12:15 says to rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. That is how you keep people from being alone, and what this podcast is all about. We demonstrate that in the first 15 minutes of the podcast, and we talk about it for the rest. So while it may not be 12:15 in Rome, we're treating it like it is lunchtime in Rome.
Wow, that is spicy.
Spicy.
Okay.
I sound a little high.
Yeah, I'm popping in my ears here.
Yeah, how about that?
Yep.
Oh, there, coming down a little bit.
Yeah.
Hey, before we get started, I just wanted to point out the fact, once again, that we weren't on last week for a multitude of reasons, but the biggest of which being our guy, Douglas Bentley, passed away. And it took us all by surprise and was very emotional for me. And, you know, I was sad in a lot of ways and angry in a couple ways. Angry just at how some organizations up here did not receive him well, whereas every individual did. And I noticed that the viewer count on YouTube went from like 289. I think it's over 400 now.
Since last week?
A bunch of my classmates were passing it around. And so just a shout out to everybody.
Wow.
I know you sit at the table with us every week. And the moral of the story, at least one of the morals of the story, is that each day is a gift. And we have to make sure that we treat it with that respect. We cannot live in fear. You know, I always tell Joe and Bella after everything we went through with Trey that you realize that everything's on the table and that you've no idea. There's an order, the way life's supposed to go, but it doesn't always go in that order. And so you can live in fear every day that, oh, maybe today is going to be a bad day. Maybe today is going to be a tragic day. Or you realize, man, it ain't today,
right?
Or it hasn't been today yet. And if Douglas did anything, he lived life large, intentional, and relational. And that's a lot of what we do here. It's why we do what we do here, so that you can be more relational and you can be more impactful in your day-to-day communication. And so we want to honor him with tonight's podcast, tonight's time at the table, and move forward keeping that in mind.
Do you remember what episode
I will shortly.
I was going to say, if you are a consistent listener, or consistent person that sits at the table,
at the table,
yeah, or you're new to the show, I encourage you to go back and listen to the episode titled Douglas Bentley, and we'll try to figure out what episode that was here in a second.
And you can find that on lunchtimeinrome.com or lunchtime.substack.com.
Yeah. So
159.
159. It's not too long. That's
June 9th.
Yeah, I was gonna say about half a year ago.
All 20 episodes ago.
Okay. So speaking of not to bring the room down, death, but
Speaking of death,
yeah, Amy's aunt passed away.
545 views as we sit.
Wow.
Not your aunt.
Amazing. Amy's aunt.
No, not Amy's aunt, but the Douglas Bentley.
Oh, right.
Though we did go to the viewing.
That's true. That's true. Her Aunt Jeannie, she had down. She lived till she was 65. She finished strong. And it was just good to see a lot of Amy's family. And one thing that I was thinking about is, man, you want to see some grown men just turn into like little boys. Like whenever we would have like a family reunion on that side or whatever, we'd have like a family function, like all her brothers, meaning Amy's dad and his 3 other brothers, would just like turn into little boys and like, joke around with her and sing songs. And, it was just like, man, life can be so good sometimes. And it just takes that kind of person to remind us that. But this week I have 2 goods.
Great.
I had a really great weekend with Maggie. On Saturday, I did daddy-daughter date day, and man, it just went great. And it was fun. I just ran errands, went to the mall playground, went to the exchange looking for something. I didn't find anything, but then I bought her a little toy, which they have a great selection of like just cheap toys. Like if you want to go
Inexpensive,
yep. And that was fun. And then decorating the church for Christmas with her was just a blast to watch. So fun. And then we got a new fridge.
Oh, you did?
Fridge.
Yeah. And
Big one.
It's keeping things cool.
That's what it is.
Which is awesome. It's 3 cubic feet larger than our old one. So a little bit more room in there.
A little deeper.
Got the French doors on the top and the freezer drawer on the bottom. Pretty excited about it.
Best thing about the French.
Did you find that on Facebook? 'Cause
No.
you were looking.
We did, but there was really nothing around here. And I've looked at that before because we're like, at some point we're gonna need a new fridge, and I've looked and I was like, oh, that's a pretty nice one, But yeah, not this time. Not when we're actually looking for one. And I was real tired of walking up and down the steps because we are fortunate to have a fridge in the garage, so it's not like we were living out of a cooler and ice for a week. But no, we went to Laketon TV. Great guys.
Okay.
TV and appliance.
TV and appliance, right? And they delivered it, and it was great. Yeah. Nothing but good things to say.
And it's interesting there how it works because they buy bulk with many other independent appliance dealers. So the prices are actually better than Home Depot.
It was cheaper than Home Depot.
And it's a much better fridge. Like they have better appliances for less money.
They do have high quality appliances. They have everything that you want.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just a little mom and pop shop.
Yeah, small showroom, but man, they have a Sony TV there. Holy smokes.
You kept walking by. Maybe.
I was like, I've never seen a clearer TV. Like, this is unbelievable.
You like try to jump into it.
It really was unbelievable. But yeah, fridge for Christmas.
So for me, we don't talk enough food anymore. Tonight, I made fried pork tenderloins. I pounded the pork tenderloin out real thin. Could have gone thinner, to be very honest, but I was in a hurry. And covered it in mustard, yellow mustard, and pulverized pork rinds, and used that as the breading. And just did a shallow fry in my cast iron. And I was kind of nervous about it. It's kind of hard to keep the temperature steady, but dadgummit, if it wasn't a pork tenderloin and if I was a bread eater, I'd have put it on a bun and it would have been a pork tenderloin sandwich.
I know you brought some over for us to try.
I thought about it, but there's only 2 extras, so I did not. That's a bummer. But no, that was a lot of good. And so the other thing is now it is official as of yesterday at 5:30 p.m., I guess it posted, that I have resigned as boys and girls volleyball coach for Penn Hills. You guys obviously knew that, but those who sit at the table did not. Funny.
That's big news.
That's big news.
26 years with Penn Hills.
26 years with Penn Hills, boys
27.
and girls. Also throw in some Linton junior high seasons, so it's over 55, 56 seasons.
27 overall.
27 years coaching, yeah.
Yeah.
And part of that is, excuse me, I don't know if I mentioned or not, but having classmates who lost their 13-year-old son tragically, and realizing that I've got a lot more to offer people. As I wrote an outline to him, surviving the worst week of your life, and I gave him a 4-page outline on how to handle this week up into the viewing, through the viewing to the funeral. And I really just felt convicted that, man, I should be doing more with that. And that is something that I had to go through, didn't want to go through it, but therefore I can use it to help and bless others. And then the other was with Douglas passing, thinking about his desire to bridge the gap between the police and the citizens of Penn Hills and help out the high school. And I thought, maybe if he couldn't do it, he woke up enough people, enough of our classmates
I'm here
who
for
are
it.
in the same boat as I am, in that, Bella's a senior, she's graduating. All right, well, now I don't have any more kids that are still in high school. I still have Joe and Bella. But I have other classmates who the same thing. And so just immediately I started thinking more about it. And I've had 4 specific meetings about it, sort of the ideas I'm working on, and to different degrees of people that could be involved. And so we'll see where it goes. But like I said to one of my players tonight when I was texting her that, I'm not playing or I'm not coaching, I said, I'm going to be around. I'm not going away. And I said, in a lot of ways, I'm going to be around a lot more. Like I can go to girls softball games. I can go to the track meets. I can go to
whatever you want.
And I'm known enough now that it's not just a fan, but I can be there. I know the coaches.
Yeah.
And one of my ideas is working with coaches and or leaders of clubs and programs and sort of saying, hey, what are the needs of the kids on your team? Because coaches can't do it all. And you might, and Brian, this, having Ethan, some of the best kids in the high school are really struggling with parents who are absent or divorced, moved out of state. They don't have that other. These are the best kids who are quote unquote surviving. They need that extra adult in their life, and so we've got extra adults lying around this whole community. Well, let's match them up. And let's get them involved in these kids' lives so that a coach might say, hey, listen, this kid needs a new pair of shoes. This kid needs somebody to walk with him on senior night. Whatever. So the more I'm around multiple sports and multiple activities, I think is a way that we can really impact the school and teach others to do the same. So it's obviously early, but that's kind of where we're heading.
That's good. And that's going to honor Doug, That's awesome. And I remember whenever he told us his ideas, I'm like, that makes nothing but sense.
Everything he said.
Yeah. He's awesome.
Yeah, speaking of those kids in Penn Hills, Ethan had some friends over on Sunday night. They watched a movie and
theater kids, or is more guy friend kids?
There was a mix of a couple. One kid on track, and he ran track and field, and 2 theater kids.
All right,
worlds colliding.
Yeah, which was cool because, and something Lex said to him was
Sawyer one of them?
Yes.
Ah, sweet. I'm just saying. I mean, I don't even want to say names, but I do, and that's awesome. You know who that is? Sawyer.
Yeah, Todd.
Yeah, it's Todd's nephew.
Yeah.
He's a good
awesome.
kid.
Yeah. But one of the things Lex said to Ethan was that she admired the way that he's able to bring different groups of people together, because he does that. He's always like, I didn't know what a Sawyer was until the minute that he walked in my door. And so Ethan is very involved in a lot of different groups, or whatever it is today. Whatever the kids do.
Social
today.
stratifications.
Yeah, but one of the people that came over, one of the kids that came over, they walked in the door of my house on their phone, and you could tell that it was a very intense conversation this person was having, turns out, with their father, who this person was court ordered to see the father once a week.
It's always a good sign.
And this person left their father that night to come to my house with the father saying, well, you're just giving me all this attitude, and I don't care if you come home. If you go out, I don't actually want you to come back.
Ooh,
so there was a little bit of an opportunity to comfort in that, because it's traumatic for a teenager to hear that kind of a thing from your parent.
It's tough to hear it at any age.
Right. So
catastrophic at that age.
So yeah, the point is, I hear what you're saying very much, and it's a huge need, because a lot of these kids just don't have, like you said, don't have somebody to speak into them, from an adult perspective in a healthy way.
And I want to be clear in that regard. We're not saying, hey, you're all bad parents out there.
Sure.
Life's hard. That's why we do this every week, to teach people to just maybe have another chance at getting by.
Right.
Life is very difficult. Things happen, and I'm grateful when somebody steps in And, during the trade days when Jane, and Becky Finoletto would just take Bella for the day. Like, you need that. If everything's good, you still need a third party adult in the life of a child who doesn't have the authority to punish.
Right. Yeah.
Well, even more so when, people, and these are not exactly easy times to be a parent. So we're not judging. We're not saying everybody sucks. We're just saying, man, there's a great need.
Yeah. And also speaking of that, there is a Penhill's musical.
Yeah, there is.
Coming up this, actually tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday's the matinee, tomorrow and Saturday, I think, are 7:30, something like that. It is Little Shop of Horrors. And it's rare for Penhill's to do 2 musicals in a year.
It's rare for anybody to do a fall musical.
I feel like that's a first.
Yeah.
And my brother, who graduated from Penn Hills, who's like Mr. Musical, like I told him that they were doing too, and he's like, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they did a play, and like, there's a lot going on in that department.
I think they've done it before, but it's been a while since they've done a fall one. And it's a whole, it's a big production. You think spring musical, oh, this is the big event.
So much work goes into it.
They're doing one, so we're going to be able to see that this weekend.
So anybody in the tri-state area swing on by?
Yeah.
I'm going Sunday.
Good.
I'll be there Sunday.
Yeah, I'm going Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. And I guess also I want to talk a little bit about food over the weekend. I had a hockey get together on Friday night with some of my guys because we won the championship.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
2 weeks ago. So
I'm surprised you didn't bring the cup over here.
Oh man, I should have.
Could have had it on camera.
With all the folks at the table.
I have it at my house.
Yeah, but we're not at your house.
But it is a big looking like Stanley Cup looking thing.
It's a cup, man. It's awesome.
It has some weight to it. I think it's like 30 pounds.
Wow,
So,
that is some wow.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. Yeah,
it's legit.
Yeah, that's
it's
awesome.
It's not 30 pounds. It's less than that, but
Wow.
it has some weight to
Got
it.
some heft.
Yeah.
Did you lift it over your head?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I did. I sure did. And but we went to the party, and there was some pretty good food there. This kid brought one of the guys brought a kielbasa, and it was chili. Like it was, I don't know if it was chili. It was like kielbasa, chili, and pineapple all mixed together, and it was wonderful.
I could see that.
The different
Sweet savory. I like that.
It wasn't chili. What was it?
Did you go to North Park Lounge?
No, we went over to another guy on my team. He lives out in Carnegie, and he has this thing called the Boom Boom Room. He basically
like in his basement?
No, he bought a shed and put it in the backyard.
Oh, okay.
It's like it's like an 8x12 or
There's
something.
people like up the road from us that do the same thing.
Yeah.
They have like a shed, and you can see it from the street.
You mean behind the church?
Yeah.
That place is ridiculous.
It's awesome. And you see the
I
doors
want to
open.
go over and
there's
introduce myself and just be like, I'm with you, man.
Yeah.
Whatever it is you're all about, we
yeah.
are with you.
But they got the barn doors on the shed open. You can see the TV mounted
Pool
on the back
table,
behind the bar. Like it's dope.
So how was the Boom Boom Room?
Yeah, I want to hear
Boom
more
Boom
about
Room was
that.
great.
Yeah.
It's
in Carnegie though.
It was in Carnegie.
That's like Crafton.
Yeah.
That's like Carnegie.
I know. But I was sitting in the Boom Boom Room, and this guy's a big cigar smoker, and I'm sitting there watching the Penguin game on his TV in the Boom Boom Room, smoking a cigar, drinking a bourbon. He had Buffalo Trace.
Yeah.
And we're just like, this is like the ultimate male alpha. And the one guy was like, we just need a wolf in the corner looking at us. And turns out he had just bought a wolf. Shiba Inu, I think is the name of the dog, or the type of dog, which is in the lineage of a wolf. So we got our wolf too. Oh, so
that's unbelievable.
And right before I went over there, we were at Saga, the Japanese hibachi place, and it was just so good, man.
Abby's first time.
What a great night.
Yes, it was Abby's first. It was a great night. It was Abby's first time.
They fling the shrimp at her?
They did not fling shrimp at her. There were two other kids that, I mean, they weren't with us, but they were also sitting at the table. Yeah. And the guy was paying more attention to them and having fun with them. But yeah, it was a great night, great time, good food, and yeah.
Well, I can't celebrate.
That's awesome.
Did the volcano?
Did the volcano? It wasn't as impressive as some other ones I've seen, but he still did it, and he was a good chef.
Right. Do they do their, like, I think it's Benihana, or is it Shogun, where the different color hat means how experienced they are?
I
Maybe that's a
did
thing.
not know
It's
this.
probably a chef thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
hibachi chef.
Have you ever seen the movie Chef, Eric?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
I have
one of my
not seen that film.
Well, you've
Anyhow.
You sat in the same room.
Point of the story is this. I feel bad. No, I feel good. No, we're talking about feelings versus emotions. Go back to our last episode, 177, if you would like, where we talk about that feelings are very prevalent in our world today. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of guilt. There's a lot of, self-condemnation, a lot of shame, a lot of this, a lot of that. And
sadness.
It's sadness. And it really motivates and dictates a lot of behaviors. Mm-hmm. But what we focus on here are emotions. And we've talked about the top 10 emotional needs. We have the relational needs questionnaire that you can take right off of our website. And last week we took a look.
We take a look.
We took a look at really the differences, and that the feelings are ambiguous, superficial, and found directly in the conscious mind. Good or bad, whatever else. They're fleeting. They're ever shifting. They're nebulous. You can't touch them. You don't understand necessarily why they are, and that the enemy or Satan really manipulates people through them. Whereas emotions are eternal. They're fundamental. They exist in the subconscious, and they're really what motivates or fuels our feelings. When our emotional needs are not met, or they are met, well, then we're either happy, or we're sad, or we're angry, or we're glad, all those kind of things. That emotions are concrete and tangible, and that by far and wide, people are completely unaware of their emotions and their emotional needs. They're keenly aware of how they feel.
Yes.
And that we talked about Satan and the enemy. And again, this is not a Christian podcast, but a podcast run by Christians. That the enemy manipulates people through feelings. But I believe that emotions, and you have pointed out in some of your research on this, they're really God's blueprint on us. Mm-hmm. And so tonight we're looking at what does God say about emotions? Where does God fit into feelings? And why do a lot of people of faith, we can leave it at that, boy, they miss the mark on that.
Sure. So yeah, as far as the blueprint goes, when I really started to think about this, I went and started looking up some different scriptures, and but if we are made in the image of God, if you believe that you've been created by God, then part of our image should reflect him. And if that's the case, he gave us emotions, right? And so that must mean that God himself has emotions, which he does and displays through the Bible. And he experienced one negative feeling through
only one feeling.
One that we...
Well, we've talked about there's 4 major feelings that you have, which negative feelings that come from hurts or emotional needs not met. Mm-hmm. And the only, so whether it be sadness, whether it be fear, whether it be guilt, whether it be self-condemnation, or what did I say? Anger,
fear, guilt, self-condemnation. We talked about sadness.
We did talk about
fear,
sadness.
Right.
Was the new one.
Fear, guilt, self-condemnation. Right. Those 4 things. God only experienced one of those. It's personified in Jesus,
which was anger.
Sure.
At the religious people of his day, because
taking advantage
they were
of the
taking
people.
advantage of the people that everybody else was taking advantage of,
and they were taking advantage of them in God's name.
In God's name,
which is kind of crazy when you think about it, because it kind of happens today.
No.
Yeah. No. Not at our church, but at others.
So we know that God feels anger, experiences anger, but as Ephesians 4:26 says, "In your anger, do not sin."
So it's okay to be angry.
Yeah. So, but let me stop here, because if one of those feelings is a hurt, if you go to one of those feelings because it's a hurt that has, or an emotion that has not been met or taken from you, and Jesus was angry and we see God getting angry, does that mean his anger is caused by a hurt? Do you know what I'm saying?
Except now we're basically the microbe on a toenail trying to figure out what the giant's doing.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, we're trying to figure out the emotional needs of God.
I'm just looking at the logic we laid out.
Right. Well,
it is definitely an interesting thought.
Okay, so in that instance, in the scriptural instance where they made people who are coming to worship trade their money in for temple money, but they're giving them a horrific exchange rate. So they're taking advantage of people, and that made God angry. Certainly, I would say his need for respect, completely out the window. His need for, I don't want to say security, but hey, here, I told you to take care of these people. These are my children, and you're taking advantage of them. So, look at belonging, the emotional need of belonging. These are my children that you're taking advantage of. So those are emotional needs not being met, and so therefore God's angry at their behavior in that regard.
But that does not make him imperfect.
No, because right there it says, in your anger, do not sin. Anger in of itself is not a sin. It's his observation of us.
Gotcha. And we do see...
Jesus wept with Mary and Martha.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean he was perfect.
Sad.
He was sad.
Right. And we do see, on the topic of anger, we see it a lot. I mean, it's kind of the cliche, but the anger God of the Old Testament. There's a lot of instances in the Old Testament where he was angry with the people that he called his own. And one of those is Isaiah. It says, on this account, the anger of the Lord has burned against his people. And he stretched out his hand against them and struck them down. And the mountains quaked, and their corpses lay like refuse in the middle of the streets. For this, his anger is not spent, but his hand is still stretched out. And I love that last part because he's still, even in his anger, wanting to connect and reach out and allow the needs of the people to be met and found in him. So he has that anger for this. And I think it's more, well, I don't know. I don't want to presuppose, but I would imagine he hates sin. And to know that the system of sin in this world separates us from him, that's got to make him really frustrated.
I mean, if I were God,
yeah.
we're
getting into some territory
having
here.
done everything, created everything, and then have people basically spit in his face, that would put me off.
Yeah, but I mean, like I'm talking about, and this is kind of the same, in a similar way how I feel when I look at the world. Like, yes, I get angry at people. Like when I look around our society, especially today, especially over the last couple of years, I get angry at people. There are individuals. There are subcultures and masses that I get angry with. But even deeper than that for me, it is the anger at the injustice that sin has caused, the brokenness that sin's caused in this world. And I don't want to compare myself to God, but I feel like he's given us enough evidence to say that he also experiences that too, because he cared enough about writing of that to send Jesus.
Right. And I don't think before we go too far into the weeds of God's emotions, as far as why does he feel the way he does, God certainly shows good emotions as well, that he is glad and that we make him happy and that he is proud and that there are, well done, good and faithful servant. He is certainly the only negative emotion we ever see is anger.
Yeah.
And so he's not, I guess I would say he's not overly invested in the feelings.
Right.
But much more in the emotions.
Yeah.
Well, and like we say, he's given us these emotions to reflect our significance as a creation made in his image. But he is affectionate and he loves. And we see that in John 3:16. For God to love the world, that he gave his only son. Romans 5:8, God demonstrated his own love towards us in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us.
Which actually, now that I read that, and I don't even know, did I put these in there? Did you put these in? You did. What other emotional need does that look like? Romans 5:8. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Certainly that is affection.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying love, but love demonstrated in affection. But what else? While we were still sinners, Christ died for us.
I was going to say belonging.
Nope. Yeah, I mean, okay, he's your father.
You accented the word sinners.
Right.
So I feel like that.
Contextually, I'm following along.
So I feel like there's something there in the word sinners. I mean, I don't know.
Being loved even though you've made a mistake.
Appreciation. Acceptance. Sorry. No. Because I was like going through the list. I'm like, what am I missing? No, it's acceptance.
Exactly. Being
Yeah.
loved
Yeah.
while we're still sinners. We didn't have to be perfect for God to love us. That's acceptance.
Right.
I accept you for who you are.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
That's sizzler money right there.
That is, oh, come on, Matteo.
God grieves and seeks to comfort.
And I want to stop right there as we look at emotions that are, like you said, our blueprint or in our DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And I say this from time to time from up front at church, that the God of all creation grieves alongside us and comforts us and gives us the ability to comfort. What if he didn't?
It would
What
be
if
hard
he
for it'd be hard for us to do that.
It'd be impossible for us to do it. And what if he didn't accept us?
Well, then we would be doomed.
There we go. So, John 11, Lazarus is dead. Mary and Martha are weeping. Jesus comes up. He knows he's going to heal them. Now, this to me is one of the most quintessential Christian moments. A Christian would say, don't you have more faith? Don't you realize what God can do? If you just believed, if you just did this, if you just did that, Christian platitude, Christian platitude, Christian platitude. When Jesus just looks in their eyes and Jesus weeps.
Yeah.
When Jesus weeps with them, how impactful that is.
It is one of my favorite past chapters, stories in the Bible. Even before that, where he's sitting around with his disciples and they're talking about making the journey over there. There's so many funny. There's some funny things in that in the way his disciples talk. But then that scene when he the grief that he feels as he mourns with them, and knowing that he had delayed on purpose for several days in order for Lazarus to die so that he could go and demonstrate his power and his compassion and his love. It's such a tremendous, and knowing that he delayed, knowing that he knew he was delaying in order for that to happen, but yet still being a full man, knowing that all of that grief was going to happen. I mean, it's heartbreaking, like the burden that he must have felt within himself. And then when he finally went and he finally mourned, and then he had that victory to raise him, the joy, it just, every time I think of that story, it just gives me chills.
You wonder to some degrees, like, because he's so committed to it. I'm going to, I am going to heal him. He's not dead. He's only asleep, and then they're like, well, then why do you wake him? And he's like, okay, he's dead, but I'm going to rise him again.
So Jesus said plainly, he's dead.
He's dead. And I'm glad he's dead because I'm going to raise him and show you how great my power is. You wonder, like, when he gets there and he sees Mary and Martha, is he like, that one's a little harsh. I feel a little bad. Like I said, he doesn't experience guilt. Jesus be like, this one, he's on me a little bit. I'm sorry. I'm gonna make him. I already said I'm gonna make you feel better. I'm not doing it because I feel bad. But that he comes alongside them and I'm with you. Just in what was it in the one of the movies about Jesus that wasn't very good? It was him being tempted in the desert, and that the devil shows him like wars and shows him all the things that if you just
all these kingdoms,
if you just don't go
have.
to the cross, none of this pain's going to happen. It's like,
it's a heavy load, man. That is a heavy load.
There's a lot going on there.
This next one, I think it's one of my underrated favorite verses of my life, of your
life.
Yeah, it's one of those underrated life verses that
Foundational.
The more I read it and the older I get and am in this world, it means more and more to me. But it's John 16:33, and this is Jesus speaking. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. If we could internalize the fact that the God of the universe is coming to us and again telling us plainly, you are going to have trouble. You are going to suffer. You are going to see things that make you mourn and break your heart and break your body and break your mind. Take heart though, because in me, I've overcome all this. Like it may not manifest right now in this moment or maybe even in this lifetime, but I have overcome this. And so again, it's just one of the most beautiful examples of truth in the Bible of God grieving with us and also comforting us.
100%. And yet we sit there and we get angry. People get angry at God. It's like, did I not
already told you.
clearly say?
Yep.
But I'm here for you.
Right.
But you're mad.
Right.
I mean, that's why he's God and we're not. But God is also very encouraging. And
God is like the president. Like, I wouldn't want either of those jobs. I don't want to be God, and I don't want to be president of the United States.
No, I don't want to be president. I think I could do it though.
I don't know. Anyways, I'm sorry.
God is encouraging. In Deuteronomy 31:6, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, but the Lord your God goes with you. I mean, if I woke up every day and I said, okay, God is walking with me. Because when you get mad, when you get scared, when you get all the negative feelings, and you realize that God is not only encouraging you, which is saying you can do it, he is supporting us because he's saying, I'm with you. And that goes to, again, what if God just said, okay, monkey, dance, do your best.
Huh. Yeah.
All right, you're on your own. Report back when you go to bed tonight. Oh.
Yep.
Except effectively, that is what a lot of us do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when so many of my prayers start with, it's been a while, Lord. You know, and the fact that God not only encourages us, be strong, be courageous, you can do it, but the fact that he is with us, if you want him there. And he's a perfect gentleman as well. He's like, oh, you don't want my help? Cool,
Right.
I'll be over here. And then we wait, and we wait, and we wait, and we wait, we wait, and he waits. And then we're like, God, where are you? He's like, I'm right here. That is great support. How often if you offer help to somebody and they don't take it, and they don't take it, and they don't take it, you're trying to support them and they don't take it.
Mm-hmm.
Then they finally come to you and they're like, hey, can you help me? And you're like, really? Where were these last 6 times I offered?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's support, but is it also not encouragement?
No, it's both.
Yeah.
The encouragement is be strong and courageous. I encourage you to be strong, be courageous. But then the support is the Lord your God goes with you.
Right.
God is present with you. Romans 15:5-6. May the God who gives endurance and encouragement give you the same attitude of mind towards each other that Christ Jesus had, so that with one mind and one voice you may glorify the God the Father of our Lord. Again, it's more encouragement.
Literally says encouragement.
Literally says encouragement.
Go
ahead.
I was just going to say, so just pausing here, the moral of the story is, and as I was putting this together, I could have gone on and on.
Well, but I'd like to for a minute.
Okay.
I don't want to stop your point.
No.
But let's go over some emotional needs we didn't mention. Okay, what about affection? How did Jesus personify affection?
Dying on the cross for us.
It's like the slap shot. Is Jesus the answer?
Yeah. Give me a gray animal with a bushy tail. I want to say squirrel, but Jesus. You know, pulling little kids into him, not saying, no, let them come to me. You know, wiping tears away from the eyes, sitting alongside the woman at the well. That's also acceptance.
Right.
Because he knows.
Right. I was just trying to figure out like what specifically is affection.
Well, you would think even I'll see that one.
I mean, he loved us so much, he died for us. Like, I don't know. But yeah, like, I mean, I'm sure that when he was like, you know, walking and talking.
You're like, it's documented in The Chosen.
That was a real live documentary, right?
Right.
Belonging. Where did he meet the need for belonging?
Oh, man, just fishermen, disciples, you know.
Sitting down, breaking bread.
Yeah.
With everybody.
Yeah.
You know, Zacchaeus. You know, the tax collector nobody liked. The short tax collector nobody liked, up in a tree. Say, yeah, come here. Come here, Zacchaeus. You put his arm around him a little bit. Come here, you got to give him noogies.
Yeah.
Zacchaeus, get out of here. Yeah.
It could be acceptance too for that.
Oh, absolutely. That's acceptance.
All right. So he feeds the 5,000. What is that? Like the actual physical act of feeding them. I mean, yes, he spoke a lot of truth to them.
For me, that would be security. Hey, I'm hungry. Oh, really? You need food? Here's food. You know, it's definitely security.
I was just gonna say he's probably really great at every single emotional need.
I mean, if I had to guess.
Yeah, but I feel like he'd be good at appreciation, like showing appreciation.
Okay, so when does Jesus thank anybody? Well, he thanks his Father an awful lot. God the Father, God, I thank you that you have spoken. You did this for them. That's in the Bible. Where else does Jesus thank people? When does anybody? Well, okay, the woman that pours perfume on the poor woman pours perfume on Jesus's feet.
Yeah,
and cleans her feet. You know, he says, what this woman has done for me. Now, he doesn't address her per se, I think, but, means a lot. He goes, and he points out, hey, what she gave me is great. What you guys gave me was nothing. You put me at over here at the table. You didn't wash my feet. You didn't.
But it was Mary and Martha when he like stays and who's like cleaning up everything?
Oh,
Martha.
It's impossible to know the difference between the two. I've never remembered.
You said Martha?
Martha.
So
Martha.
yeah, so
Mary
Mary's
gets
there,
it.
appreciating him and there, and I think he appreciated her there,
That's a great one, though.
and belonging there too.
Oh, it's all over the place, belonging.
Yeah.
What else have we covered? Support, encouragement, affection, acceptance, attention.
What
Oh,
about?
he gave a lot of people attention.
Yeah.
People
Attention that they
nobody
didn't want.
Right, lepers. Right.
Yeah.
What about bringing the Israelites out of Egypt? That
Security.
would be.
Well, that's God the Father.
Yeah, but
That'd be a whole lot of security.
It's a whole lot of security. Yeah.
And also belonging. Hey, you're my people.
and
I got
respect
you.
because
Respect.
he's making them
Respect.
into a people.
Oh, how much respect did Jesus show? My goodness. And also disrespect for those who had it coming to them.
Right.
But, whether it be the leper, whether it be the woman caught in adultery, whether it be, the children. No, you matter. Mm-hmm. Gosh, so beautiful. And in fact, I'm sorry, I don't steal your example, but bringing the Israelites out of Egypt, that was a bunch of emotional needs met.
So as they go through the desert and they're learning to trust in him,
Or are they?
yeah,
As they whine.
as they whine.
better if we were still Pharaoh's slaves.
I gotta say, I hate to say it, that'd be me. You know what I mean? Yeah, let's be honest. I'd be like, man.
We always like to think it wouldn't be us.
Oh, dude, I'm
I don't think, though, I would have been one of the ones that was mad at Moses. I wouldn't have been mad necessarily.
Okay.
I'd be
Yeah,
like, come on, give me the map. Give me the map. I saw this cactus 8 times. Can we please not wander in circles anymore? I'm so tired.
That happens in Tropic Thunder too. I'm sure they're extremely similar.
That's a terrible movie.
I love that movie.
Inappropriate.
It's a great movie.
It's not okay.
Why? What's wrong with that movie?
It's too long.
Oh, okay.
It's too long.
It's violent.
It's funny.
It's very funny. Couldn't be made today.
Could not be made today. no.
Could not be made today. What depends on
It does
who made
not
it.
meet
Certain
some
people can make it
emotional
today.
needs of people today.
But we digress. Don't worry.
digress.
Do we miss any of the other emotional needs? Attention, belonging, comfort. Oh,
Oh, well, I mean. Duh.
well, where did he comfort?
He comforted when he.
Oh, Eric's the one that did it. I wanted Eric to.
Sorry,
bring it.
I was making a marker. I mean, you could pretty much pick anything that we just talked about. Sorry, I got a side cramp right now.
Well, I think about like the man at the gate who was paralyzed, and he was laying there on his mat, and
Jesus joined him in being paralyzed.
Well, Jesus joined him in making him feel not insignificant anymore by saying, "Get up and walk."
But is that comfort? That's
See, that's
respect.
okay. So the thing is, that's the thing that I was getting. That was. I do say Jesus comforted people, but when you get down to the understanding of comfort, it's the hardest one. I still don't think I have a really big grasp on it. But I would
It's
go.
Mary and Martha. It's Mary and Martha when Lazarus
see,
died.
I would say
Because he looks in their eyes and he weeps.
I would say walking again or giving people their sight is very comforting.
Yeah,
No,
but
they
it's not
feel
the
comfort.
same.
No, it's not the
same.
emotional need
I
of
was
comfort.
going with woman at the well. That I feel like
That is a great.
because when he draws the line in the sand, takes the attention off of her.
That's the woman caught in adultery.
Sorry.
About to get stoned.
You've had 5 wives. Look at this line in the sand.
If you have
I
6,
thought,
you shall not pass.
I thought that scene. I thought that scene in the Bible happened.
I thought they cut that out.
I thought it happened at the
That was
well.
the
I thought they were
director's
they
cut.
were at another well.
That well was a dirty place, man. There were some shady characters at that well at noon.
I'm not a
kinds of
learned
stuff
man.
But the woman at the well who had 5 her husbands, and the one that
maybe
she
a
was
wife
with
too.
now was not her husband, she would certainly.
Wait, so I am right. The woman at the well committed adultery. No.
No,
sorry.
she was
No,
married
she
a bunch.
just kept. She was a
And no.
little known fact. Thinks she's a bit of a black widow. Thinks she was killing all those husbands. She kept that from Jesus, though. Not true. But anyhow, she poisoned him with the water.
Oh, plot twist.
That's why he's like, "Give me a drink." She's like, "Oh, I'm not giving you a drink. You don't want this water, there, pal. I've heard good things about you."
He's like, well, that's true. I have my own living water, so
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, I'm immune to iocane powder. It's okay."
I made that stuff. I know what it's all about.
Exactly. So
Yeah, but those are two. I think those are two really beautiful examples of comfort where he doesn't care about the past. He doesn't care about what they've done or where they've been. That woman is alone. She had to go there at a separate time of day so that she wouldn't be made fun of or whatever, because she felt embarrassed and she felt shame. So for him to come alongside
So
of
he
her,
loved her even though she had made mistakes.
yeah,
Yeah, it is great acceptance.
that is great acceptance. But it's very,
It's comforting to be accepted.
yeah.
You're like, listen, emotional needs nerd,
I'll just stop.
right in the side of the face. But the guy, imagine the guy, the leper. Nope, the paralytic that you were talking about, Eric. So here's a guy who's paralyzed. You
I
said
was
that,
talking about-
Yeah.
Brian, you brought.
I was talking about the.
That's the
gets
first
lowered.
time. That's the first time I was wrong.
That he gets lowered through the roof to just be healed by Jesus. Okay, certainly security, but like, talk about respect. How were paralyzed people considered back then? I mean, they were nothing.
Yeah,
They were
right.
nuisances.
Useless.
Right.
Yeah.
Useless eaters.
If they'd have had doors, they'd have been door stops. I mean, that's all they were considered back then. And yet, Jesus takes the time and heals this guy. How much respect did he get? How much belonging? Hey, this guy, this great teacher, he's talking to me. And that's what he says later on. Hey, because everybody's mad. The Pharisees are mad. The religious people are mad that he's walking. And they're like, well, who did this? Who about this Jesus? And he goes, oh, that's Rich. Do you want to be his follower too? Because he talked to me. He healed me. That's all I know.
What about the other?
That guy wouldn't have said that as a paralyzed man. He wouldn't talk to the Pharisees that way.
Right.
But he had the respect of Jesus. So he's like, oh, no, let's talk.
As Jesus was getting crucified, you had the two thieves. What about the one where he said,
Oh, yeah.
today you'll join me?
Oh, that one.
Belonging, acceptance.
What's Jesus experiencing? Or what's the thief experiencing?
thief.
When they're having the conversation, and again, Jesus was like,
That's like-
you recognize me as Savior.
Well, it starts with the other thief saying, hey, if you're so big, if you're so
Right.
awesome, once you get off that cross, save yourself and
That's
save us while you're at it.
Disrespect.
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 And it's the other one who says, shut up. We deserve what's happened to us.
Yeah.
He doesn't. And that's why Jesus turns to him and says, hey, you and me, babe, today we're walking. He was
Yeah.
Italian.
Yeah.
We're going to walk together. So that's belonging. That's
acceptance. Classic
acceptance.
acceptance. He did something wrong.
He's done
And
everything
Jesus
wrong.
is still accepting.
I mean, that's like the joke the guy
Yeah.
said, people waiting in line to go into heaven, and Peter's asking everybody, why do you deserve to be in heaven? He's like, are you a good person? No. No. Were you better than some people? No. I was the worst. I killed people. I killed children. And he's like, why are you here? He goes, I don't know. Some guy in the cross next to me said he'd see me up here. It's like, oh, that's how much you can be forgiven. So security, acceptance, belonging,
yeah.
all of that.
I keep trying to find the comfort ones, and I'm not doing a good job at it.
I mean, it's very in a lot of it.
He's just very comforting.
But here, let's go.
You're not wrong.
I know. I can say that with all the confidence in the world, and I am not a confident person.
So, So, not in conclusion, but to summarize, Jesus experienced every emotion we could possibly have. And God
Yes.
has put them in our hearts.
Yes.
And it is who we are, it is what we are made up of. And it is imperative for us to be in touch with them. Let me talk about this for 1 second, and it's a bit of a sidebar, but I want to share it at the table. And it is this. I was talking with somebody who's trying to help a couple. And I said to them, make sure you're talking to your spouse and how to deal with it. They're both dealing with this other couple. I said, because there's we're taught that when a couple gets married, that God may speak to just one spouse. And so that's why you always have to be talking, because God may be putting something on Lex's heart to share with you. or something God may be putting something on your heart, Eric, to share for Amy. And if the two became one, you're one unit. So he may only be talking to one of you to share it with the other.
Right.
And I've heard that, and I've taught that, and everything else. But it occurred to me that maybe the reason why God does that is that your own hurts, or that one person in the relationship, their own hurts and their own trauma preclude them or make them unable to hear what God is saying. Whereas that God will speak to the other person who doesn't have the same trauma, and it'll help them through that trauma and to get where God wants them to be.
Well, and it's kind of a beautiful thing about marriage or any really good relationship is that you're going to have your blind spots because of, like you said, your hurts, your traumas. And so especially in a marriage, what you're saying is awesome, you're supposed to grow with each other, and at different points, one or the other is going to be that vessel to help strengthen that 3-chord knot, or whatever the analogy is.
Chord of three.
Chord of three. So that's a good sidebar.
Smooth.
It was just kind of, I've taught it a million times, and then when I was like, well, that's probably why. Because the enemy, what does he do? He attacks you, causes trauma, causes hurt, causes pain. Now you can't hear what God is trying to say to you. So what's God's workaround? I'm going to talk through the other person.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful. He makes a way.
He makes a way.
And that's a good illustration in that the enemy deals in feelings. The enemy deals in, aren't you mad? Aren't you jealous? Aren't you angry? Aren't you disrespect? Aren't you, no, I don't go disrespect, but I mean, in emotion or in feelings, I'm feeling rage. I'm feeling this. I'm feeling, inappropriately different ways. But the economy and the message with which God speaks is our emotions.
Well, and again, we need to see, I believe, and a lot of other people do, that there is a way, a truth, that it's not all relative. And so oftentimes when people are searching, I've had people ask me, why do you believe what you believe? I mean, I'm a very complicated person. I have my own past and history and everything. So I think sometimes it surprises people that when they know that I do firmly believe in Jesus. And, I've had those conversations. Why do you believe what you believe? And it has to come back to, was he a liar, a lunatic, or was he who he says he was? And there's some great resources on that. And so for me, the world starts and ends in a lot of ways through the person of Jesus Christ demonstrated through the Gospels. And so even as we're talking here with all of these examples of, the stories we're telling, you don't see the feeling. You see the emotions, as we were just talking about. Whereas you read through nonfiction of today and there's a lot of feeling being displayed, but I love how the gospel and I love how Jesus very clearly demonstrate the reality of emotions over feelings. Other than the anger that we discussed at the beginning, that's a clear lens for us to see, okay, he's doing these things not on a whim. He's doing all of these things that he's doing because he's grounded on something eternal, and it's a lot of things that he's grounded eternally in, but through the lens of emotions, it's a great template for us,
Absolutely. And if you look once again at the personification of both good and evil, God and the enemy, we went over in depth looking at how Jesus himself personified what emotions are, and that we, made in his image, are motivated and fueled by emotions. And that are the 10 that we talked about and more. If we look at the personification, or should I say serpentification of the enemy, and we look in the Garden of Eden, and we look at the devil incarnate in a snake, he manipulated with emotions, with feelings. Dadgummit, with feelings. In that, aren't you jealous? Why does God want you to? Jealousy. What a horrible manipulative emotion. Right. Pride. Hey, why can't you take it? Take that fruit. Take that fruit. And then the minute they did, oh, shame. Oh, there's shame. Oh, look at you. You're naked.
And that's a great line of thinking, is that when, like, we looked at how God's given us a godly template for emotions, but if we turn that around and look at
How
stories
we're
through the Bible, or,
manipulated by feelings, lust,
yeah,
pride.
yeah, seven
Anger,
deadly
rage.
sins. What is the 7 deadly sins are based on feeling.
On a movie.
Yeah. What's in the box?
7. Oh, gosh. But that's it. We're manipulated by our feelings, but we're fueled by our emotions.
Yeah.
And so let's make sure as we move forward and we're trying to build good relationships with people, and somebody comes to you, and they're hurting, or they, to join them in their emotions, to recognize them, to give them these emotions, for those are needs. Nobody has a need for pride.
Right.
Nobody has a need for lust. Nobody has a need for rage. Those aren't needs. Those are manipulative tools
Man, that's an
of the
episode.
enemy.
Yeah.
I think we just did it, though. I don't know if I hit. But I'm just saying, that's sort of what we're talking about tonight.
Yeah.
In our conclusion, we're sort of saying that's the whole point, that the enemy manipulates with feelings. But God fuels us and motivates us and equips us with the emotions.
Right. And once again, as we've been talking about for the past couple episodes, so much of it starts with intentionality. You have to be intentional about sifting through and
reaching out. It isn't just about you.
well, and that's what I was going to say, because by understanding this, we can understand others, love your neighbor, and ourselves as yourself. Again, love your neighbor as yourself. You understand others, and then because you understand yourself. And when we understand these emotions, we understand how to operate on God's economy and not the one of this world. And that's a huge challenge, because we are infested with bad programming and manipulations and lies that we've been, breathing from
Our
birth.
feelings are being manipulated by fear. Look at the last 3 years.
I
Yeah.
was to say, more than ever, like, I don't know, in the entire lifetime, but more than ever in my lifetime. Like,
It's fear. It's another feeling.
yeah.
People should have had much more security in the last 3 years, but instead they were manipulated by fear. And that's again, so beware the feelings, but identify the emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Take us out, Brian.
I'm working on it. Trying to there's back and front pages here. That's it for episode 178. Please make sure to give us a like or follow on all social media. It is important to us. We really would request that. And visit us at lunchtimeinrome.com. While there, take our relational needs questionnaire. Thanks for joining us at the table for Lunchtime in Rome. Bye.
See you next week.
Bye.